Happy Hour is on now.
What up? This is Happy Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppy. You digging this new intro? Because I am. It pumps you up. It gets you going. You know what I mean? I was getting real sick and real tired of the old intro. Frankly, I was getting real sick and tired of Happy Hour in general. I was doing it after my second job. I was doing it late at night, and that intro kind of ran its course. I had it for 6 months. Hard to believe. I've been doing Happy Hour for 6 months. Time flies. And it was one of those things where I go, I need to rejuvenate Happy Hour. I need to bring it back to life and bring back the magic. Because saying let's let the beat drop got old in August, and I was saying that going into November. So I wasn't really digging it. You know what I mean? So then I add Kyle Veet as the co-host of Happy Hour and Super Rich as the newsman. So I thought, if I'm going to change up Happy Hour and I'm going to make it this new rejuvenated show, I need to update the music. So let's let this new beat drop. It's one of those things where, like, it's got the same vibe of, like, classical music, you know what I mean? But it's not as boring as the old one, so I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, tweet at me in real time. It's not hard. All you have to do is tweet at me at Ryan Hoppy Radio. If you're listening via the Spreaker app, it's not hard. Just chat me live. If you're listening live on Spreaker, chat me so I know you're listening. All right, we have so much to get into. But here's my thing that's really bothering me is we are really letting this fake outrage get to us. Like, I don't know if it's because of social media or because of the idea that you have a platform now to have your voice be heard. But there's no reason in hell that we should be outraged over what the color of a coffee cup is. And now I know you're going to say, Hoppy, if you hate this so much, why are you talking about it? Hoppy, if you talk about it, you're no different than the media. Well, the problem is the media reporting on this, they're reporting it as actual news, but I want to break down why the movie Idiocracy is officially upon us if people are mad about the color of coffee cups. I mean, this is getting out of hand. We are at an all-time high when it comes to crime in the city of Baltimore, and I will read that article for you because that's actual news. Not the color of coffee cups. It's actual news when a major market is at an all-time high in crime. But because it's Baltimore, I guess we don't care. But first, before I even get into that, I just want to let you know that every night before I go to bed, this might be healthy, this might not be healthy, but I think about death, maybe because my dad died a year ago, and just how time flies, and we're only given this much time on Earth. And I've really been thinking about it since my dad died. And it's one of those things where I like to use my day to the fullest. That's why I'm always grinding in radio. That's why I'm always trying to book the best guests possible. That's why I'm always working hard, because I want to make it in life, and I want to use each day like it's my last. And during this short time we are alive, there are people who have no lives. There are people that have nothing going on with them. There are people that are miserable in their marriages. There are people that hate their kids. There are people that are lonely. There are people that just are miserable. So what they want to do is they want to bring the misery onto other people. They want to have you think that because they're outraged and they don't agree with something, that we all should feel that way, because they want to feel like they contributed to something, because they were never good at sports. They were never on the debate team. They never did anything in their life. So they go, if I can spark up this outrage over the color of a coffee cup, or I can get a media figure fired for saying words, these losers, these cretins, these imbeciles finally feel like they accomplished something in life. And my thing is, when they're complaining, they're not hurting anybody. They're not attacking anybody. They are getting mad over words. So why should we care what these uptight, arrogant, out-of-touch pussies are offended by? If they're mad about words, all you have to do is ignore them. There's no reason in hell that the color of coffee cups should be on the front page of every news network, and it should actually be news. I know you're saying, but Happy, you're talking about it. I'm the only one that's saying it like it is. The movie Idiocracy is upon us. If this is actual news, like to anybody out there that was actually offended by those coffee cups, let me ask you this. Was it so offensive that you weren't able to put the key in your car and drive to work? Were you not able to feed your kids breakfast this morning? Were you not able to turn on your Xbox, have sex with your wife, go grocery shopping, work out, mow the lawn, whatever? Was the color of the coffee cups so offensive and it made you so outraged that you couldn't go on with things in life, that you lost your focus and you almost wanted to kill yourself because things were so bad? Is the color of coffee cups really ruining your life? Or are you that miserable that you're losing your mind? We are screwed. I mean, if people are this mad, I mean, it's something we don't want to talk about, but like, crime is up. Like, a 9-year-old got assassinated in Chicago in an alley. Whatever. Both sides of the gangs aren't talking. They're not snitching. Whatever. Spike Lee is making a documentary called Chirac about the crime in Chicago. And I know murder isn't just in Chicago, but there's so much turmoil in this country. We're broke. We don't have one good presidential candidate. Everything's getting bad. But let's bitch and complain and moan over coffee cups, because that's what's important. With what we do in the 24 hours we are given each day, even though we spend about 8 hours sleeping, we are given all this time in a day to accomplish something, but we're going to bitch and moan because of coffee on social media, because these uptight, arrogant pussies that get mad at it would never, ever go up to the headquarters and say, please, can you change the coffee cup? It's because they have the new weapon that is known as the keyboard, and that gives them an outlet because they're antisocial pussies who would never do it in real life. I'm done. God, is this moronic? The annual reveal of their red cup is meant to signify that the holiday season is approaching us. But this year, it's brought up some controversy. Coffee did. Like, I would maybe get if you changed what like a vodka bottle looked like and it looked all like kiddie-ish so that teens want to drink it. I would get if like an alcoholic beverage looked enticing, then maybe I can get the outrage. But over coffee, I mean, it's something you drink for 30 minutes and then you throw out the cup. I mean, this is comical. It says here, the iconic red cup has featured several winter themes since its first appearance in 1997. From snowflakes to hand-drawn reindeer to a winking snowman and decorative ornaments. Each year, the design is different than the last. This year's design is simple. An ombre from bright red to dark cranberry. While some Twitter users have praised the minimal effort for this year's logo, other people are bringing on the term the war on Christmas. You can't be serious. The war on Christmas. The war on the holiday that supposedly Jesus Christ was born and everything became great. The war on the holiday when kids appreciate life and this fake guy brings them presents. The war on the holiday, when you get together with your family and you eat. The war on the holiday, where you have nice, pretty lights in the front yard, and if you live in the Midwest or the East Coast, you have snow, which makes it pretty. The war on Christmas. No. Not the war on Baltimore. Not the war on fake outrage, not the war on any Midwest city that has crime or any city, not the war on Iraq, not the war on we don't have one goddamn good presidential candidate. The war on a holiday. And isn't a war something that happens for a long time? It's an ongoing process. Christmas is like one day and the season lasts 6 weeks. I mean, how about the war on mass shootings? How about the war on the media coverage? I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's infuriating. It says here, the new cup is blowing off Christmas with their non-Christmas coffee cups. I'll never buy from them again. That's what one Twitter user said, who would never say it to the company, which I'm leaving their name out. Next one. You offend me, my family, and my friends by not putting Christmas decorations on the red cups. That's what another tweet said. So you're going to be at the Christmas table, right? And you're not going to be talking about what you're grateful for. You're not going to be talking about why you're happy that you're alive. Or let's say you're around the tree opening up the presents. Your kids aren't going to be opening up the presents in pure glee. They're going to be saying, why are those coffee cups so plain? Because that's what's going to get brought up at the dinner table. What are you guys grateful for? Everyone goes around. Cousin Timmy goes, I'm grateful for my new toy. Cousin John goes, I'm glad I have a job. And then you have Margaret who goes, those cops, they were too simple. Like, are you seriously going to tell me that that's going to affect your Christmas, where your friends and your family are going to be so offended this is going to go on forever? Or are you such an uptight pussy that you have nothing going on with your life, that you didn't like the cups, so now that this is bringing on media attention, you feel like you've accomplished something, you douchebags? It says here, here's another tweet. This reeks of political correctness. Count me in on avoiding that operation. Oh my God, at Tim Odell. How are they going to survive? Because of Tim Odell, they're not going to get any sales this holiday season. When everybody has to get up every day for work, or get up for school, or you need that pick-me-up in the afternoon, everybody's going to go back to your tweet, Tim Odell, and go, oh my God, he's not buying their coffee. Why should I? Everybody is going to go, hey, I'm going to Dunkin' now. Hey, I think I'll get Mountain Dew because Tim Odell doesn't like how it's politically correct. Ugh. It's a coffee cup. And I love that tweet about how their family will be offended by the cups during the season. Your whole family shouldn't be drinking coffee. The elderly shouldn't be drinking it because it's bad for their heart. The kids shouldn't be drinking it because it's not healthy for them. And frankly, if you're offended by something this much, you shouldn't be drinking coffee either, because it obviously makes you a hyper, uptight, unlikable douchebag if coffee really gets you this mad. I'm just saying. It says here, the company, however, retains that their cups were meant to be blank canvases for buyers to create their own life, inspired by doodles and design. So basically, anybody who's offended by the coffee should be glad that it's plain. They encourage you to draw on it or write your favorite memories so you're not forced in by some fake cliche picture of Santa Claus or the reindeer or the elf. I don't get it. Like, when I heard there was outrage, I went, what? Over a coffee cup being too plain? I mean, This is out of idiocracy. This is something that President Camacho would have to fix when he goes to Costco and walks by the guy that says, I love you. This is something they would be outraged over, that the bottle of Brando is too plain. I mean, things are getting bad, folks. I know you're saying, but Hoppy, you're covering it. You're no different. Here's the thing. Besides 102.5 The Bone, nobody else was speaking their mind. I'm like, why? If we keep letting this fake outrage happen and we keep letting things like this occur, things will keep getting worse, because it's teaching my generation and it's teaching the kids that are in high school now that you can be uptight about anything. You can be offended by anything. You can be mad at anything. And because of a few voices, you can change anything. And we're not allowed to have different opinions. We're not allowed to think differently and be different human beings. Everything has to be the way we want it because we're uptight, entitled douchebags with no lives. I mean, honestly. If you were offended by the coffee cup, that's one thing. Go to Dunkin'. Go to Walker Brothers. I don't know. But to waste your time, to write a complaint letter, to waste your time doing that, you're going to regret it when you're old. And life has passed you by and you went, gee, I could have done something with my time. Or maybe you're so dumb and so arrogant that you think this is what life is about. Being offended over a coffee cup.
Next on Happy Hour.
We have so much to get into. My God, it's ridiculous. All right. Baltimore violence continues at a torrid pace. Not seen since the 90s or since The Wire was on. Hey, get it? Also, Oprah defends the Kardashians after Rebel Wilson says that she resents their lack of talent. All right. And it says here, Facebook makes us angry and lonely because people compare themselves to the seemingly perfect lives of their friends. So let me know what you think about my last rant. Let me know what you think about my upcoming topics and more. Tweet at me at Ryan Hoppy Radio. If you're watching via Hoppy TV on Periscope, chat me, and I will be sure to talk to you during the break or talk to you on air. So give me some messages and chat me live via the app if you are listening and online on Spreaker. I will be sure to respond to your messages. We will be right back on Happy Hour after this on Spreaker, on your iPad, on your Android, anywhere. Hang on.
Happy Hour. Happy Hour.
What's up? This is Ryan Hoppy from Happy Hour, and I have a very special shout out to one of the sponsors of this award-winning podcast. Nicholas Seymour from Duluth, Minnesota is the owner of Solis Graphics, which is a badass company that will make you decals. You can buy Happy Hour decals. It's not too hard. For just $4, you can support this award-winning podcast while supporting small business here in America. Or maybe you have a band, a company, a freelancing project, and you want to have your logo made into a nice, badass decal. Nick is down for making deals, and he is very good at negotiating. If you want to get into contact with Nick, it's not hard. Trust me. He will answer your call real quick, and he is one of the nicest guys I know. His number is 330-419-0691. That is 330-419-0691. Or you can send him an email, solisdesign@gmail.com. That is solisdesign@gmail.com. And to check out Happy Hour decals for just $4, go to tinyurl.com/Happy Hour decal. That is tinyurl.com/Happy Hour decal. And when you talk to my guy, Nick, just say that Ryan Hoppy sent you, and he will give you a badass deal. Trust my word, pimps. Nick Seymour of Solis Graphics is the best around.
Hoppy rants so hard he starts to sweat. It's basically his cardio. Happy Hour is on.
Alrighty, welcome back to Happy Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppy. And it was funny. I was so in the zone during the intro that I forgot to mention a few things. We have some announcements. Coming up tomorrow on Happy Hour from A Mediocre Time with Tom and Dan, Tom Van will be coming on Happy Hour to talk about his career and their kick-ass podcast, which won Best Local Radio Show in Orlando. Also on Happy Hour, it's a dude I prank called back in 2006. It was the first time I was on the radio. Julian from Wild 94.9, now in San Francisco. He will be on. He kicked ass on B96 and on Kiss FM in Phoenix. Also, we have a new segment where we're going to be talking to a PI every week or as often as we can. His name is Andrew Carlton of Carlton Litigation Consultants, and he has done a lot his PI career. So we are very happy to get him on. And if there's anything you've ever wanted to know from a PI, email me, ryan@hoppyradio.com. So you have that and much more. All right. I think we are beginning to kind of overlook the problems we are having in bad parts of cities when it comes to crime and murder. Now, I know that murder and death isn't the most easy subject to grasp. I know we don't always like to talk about it, and we don't always like to think about it, and we kind of just sweep it under the rug, and we just talk about Kim Kardashian's big fat ass, because there's really not an easy way to fix the crime. There's not an easy solution, so we kind of just pretend it's not happening, which is a bad thing. So what happens when you ignore it is you have the worst violence in Baltimore since the 1990s. And now this rant isn't just about Baltimore. It's about violence in general. But I feel like if this was happening in New York City or if this was happening in Los Angeles, we would be talking about it. We talk about it because it happens in Chicago. But nobody really cares about Baltimore. It's kind of one of those cities made of the Rust Belt, that Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Like, it's kind of a blue-collar city. So we kind of overlook it. They have the Ravens. They have the Orioles, but they don't have a lot of professional teams. It's not the biggest city. There are nice parts like Towson and the suburbs, but it's just kind of a city that's on the East Coast. It's sort of like the half-brother of Washington, D.C. Like, we kind of just don't really care about Baltimore, and we really should, because there are a lot of great people out there. I know a few people in radio out there. They're great people, and they're saying that the show, The Wire, is coming to life. And I just feel like people don't even know where Baltimore is on the map. I mean, the fact that we don't care that crime there is at an all-time high going back to the 1990s. It's sad. I mean, this should be national news, not coffee cups, not the Kardashians' fat asses. All right, and this is from the Baltimore Sun, so I will get to this. It says here, the mother's sudden and anguished screams raised the gaze of the homicide cops just as they reached the yellow tape surrounding their latest crime scene. Crashing into the chest and outstretched arms of another officer braced to intercept her. That sounds like a scene out of The Wire, like when Bodie died or whenever Omar killed somebody. Just having the yellow tape, it being in Baltimore, and the cops having to kind of hold her back. Like, that's just something you think about with like CSI Miami or with any of these cop shows. And we just kind of seem to forget that the TV shows are based off of real life events because they're inspired by crime. So this is real life, folks. This isn't just on The Wire or The Shield. This happens and we just don't care because it's Baltimore. It's the 27th biggest city. Whatever. Here's what she cried out. My son! Where's my son? As she collapsed immediately to the sidewalk at the rear of an elementary school, and across the block, 10 evidence markers were around a small pool of blood. Can you imagine that? You're trying to find your son, and you see that small pool of blood, and you see the markers around it, and you know your kid's gone. You're hoping maybe it might be someone else's kid in a morbid way, but you find out it's yours. Guess what happened afterwards? She was mad about a red coffee cup. Ridiculous. As additional officers came to her side, the mother got back to her feet and broke away from them, running to a nearby park and gasping for air. And this isn't because her kid just got murdered in a city that's in turmoil. It's because of a red coffee cup, folks. She'd been told that her 25-year-old son, Daryl Whitehead, who she said had just gotten out of prison the night before, was the victim. Shot in the head 7 times during the daylight to mark the city's 290th homicide. No. Not 290th complaint over coffee or Kardashian selfie. 290 people have been killed in Baltimore this year. Whatever. She said as she was weeping in tears, I hate this effing city. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It says here, such scenes have been playing out in recent months on the blocks in Baltimore, in hospital waiting rooms, and private residences on a daily basis. Can you imagine working there and every single day you go to work and you go, I'm going to have to see another mom or another girlfriend or another loved one or another friend weeping because they find out that day during this short life, their loved one died because they got shot in the head. But whatever, who cares? Just forget it's not happening. Sweep it under the rug. Put the bodies in the ground and forget that crime's happening in America. Because coffee cups is what is important. It says here, with 294 homicides as of Sunday, the city will likely surpass the 300 homicides this year for the first time since 1999. It says here, and this is from the police commissioner, Kevin Davis. He said, there is an idea somewhere out on the blocks that this amount of violence is perhaps an ideal or opportune time for someone with a score to settle, to take advantage of the time and settle that score, which is sad. That they're just like, whatever, there's so much violence. Why should I hold back? I'd be no different. It's basically what he's saying. It's sad that gangs are so heartless and people are so heartless that they just take away innocent lives. Like, I can't imagine taking away a life. Like, your power of your hand, that person is dead forever. There might not be an afterlife. So you basically just took everything out. I know me saying that is creepy. I know me saying that it touches your guts. It's weird to think about, but that's what life is, folks. And the fact that we're not talking about this, the fact that the only reason I saw this is because Scott Reardon of the 98 Rock Morning Show, who is my Facebook friend, shared this. The fact that this is the national news scares me for the future. 300 homicides. That, I mean, I'm speechless. Like, but no one cares because it's Baltimore. We care if it's in Chicago or New York or at a shopping mall that there's murders. But Baltimore, whatever, there's no fixing it. I'm not saying that there is a way to fix crime. I'm not saying there's a way to fix this or that. But here's my thing. Can we at least try? I know the mayor of Baltimore, her grand idea was to just kind of lock everybody in and just let the crime happen. And she's not rerunning for mayor because she's a dumbass and nobody in Baltimore likes her. It's just like nobody has any ideas. Like, I'm not saying you can grab a chalkboard and just begin scribbling ideas and then you could fix a way to get all the crime to end. I'm just saying, like, sweeping it under the rug only makes it worse. It says here, homicides are up 55% year over year. And non-fatal shootings, so those are the ones that don't matter because the people live or they're just brain dead. So the non-fatal shootings, when there are shootings, and maybe you almost died, those shootings are up 80%. 80% in Baltimore. Non-fatal shootings, 80%. Who cares? It's Baltimore. Whatever. Moving on. Let's talk about Kim Kardashian's fat ass, please. It says here, we just kind of keep our heads down and go, said Dr. Thomas Scalia, physician-in-chief at the Maryland Shock Trauma Center, which is in downtown Baltimore, which takes the bulk of Baltimore patients with serious shooting injuries. That must take a really tough person to do that job. That must take a really respectable person with guts and honor and class to do that job. I can't imagine just seeing people get shot each and every day. Like, shout out to people that work at hospitals. Shout out to people that work at departments like the fire department or the police department. Like, I know cops are getting a bad rap, and there are a lot of dirty cops. We seem to kind of not want to think about it. But they put their life on the line every day, and I have a lot of respect for them. When I used to be a suburban punk, where everybody would be drinking underage as a teenager, and you would get drinking tickets in the suburbs of Chicago on the mean blocks of Arlington Heights, Illinois, that's when maybe you weren't the biggest fan of cops because you're like, oh, why are they ruining a teen's fun night? But then you realize that they put their lives on the line every single second, especially in dangerous cities like Baltimore, when you don't know when that next attack is going to happen. You don't know if you pull over some guy that he might just shoot you. He might just be crazy. I'm just saying. It says here, Scalia's team makes what they call great saves. They have a lot of successful surgeries. In cases where the patient is almost sure to die, they try their hardest to bring them back with decent results. They are having a hard time, though, coping with the deaths that are increasing each day. Here's what Thomas Scalia said, who is the physician-in-chief at the Maryland Shock Trauma Center. He went on to say, the opportunity to go tell some mom her kid's not coming home is right at the top of lists of bad things that you should never have to do. No. I thought the bad thing in life was going to a coffee shop and getting mad over a red cup of coffee. I thought that's what was important, or being outraged over what a media figure says, or not changing the TV channel. Isn't that what matters? Or is it more important than people are now taking a dirt nap because of crime in major cities, and we just don't want to think about it? He went on to say, to have to do that now more times this year is very, very, very discouraging. It's hard to find a light at the end of the tunnel. Once again, if there's any chance that Thomas Scalia is listening, shout out to you, man. You do more than I could ever do, man. I would be crying if I went to any of these people's houses. I'm just saying. He says it takes a toll on the nurses. It takes a toll on the doctors. It takes a toll on the rest of the employers. It takes a toll on the whole city and all of the people who try to help us through these things. And this is real life, folks. It says here, Baltimore is not alone, though, when it comes to murder. Police officials in other cities like Washington, D.C., Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit, St. Louis. Well, I just named off 6 cities. Whatever. If it happens in Chicago, we talk about it because that's an easy target. But who cares about the rising crime in Milwaukee, the Brew City, whatever. It says here, but Baltimore is also among the smaller subset of cities that show up per capita violence. So basically, the reason we don't talk about Baltimore is it's a major market. They have 2 sports teams. They have a downtown area. 500,000 people live there, but it doesn't have the flashiness of a Chicago or a Washington, D.C., and it doesn't happen in the Midwest. It's kind of a city that we sort of push to the corner of America. Like, it's just kind of by Washington, D.C. I feel like not that many people know where Baltimore is. It's just kind of a city that you just don't know much about. Like, whatever. It says, I don't know. It just goes on to talk about the crime and other things that are happening. I mean, I think we need an awakening. We need to set our priorities together. We need to figure out what is important in this life, because reading that almost brought tears to me. Like, I can't imagine being a mother who you see the yellow tape and you're right outside your apartment and you haven't heard from your kid in 6 hours. And then you see the frame of what looks like your kid and you find out the day after that he gets out of prison, you finally get to see him. And you find out that he's dead. I can't imagine being Thomas Scalia and every day you're going to see more people die. Can't imagine being the police that have to drive through that neighborhood and all those neighborhoods in Baltimore, the rows of neighborhoods, and have to just feel nervous all the time. Like, I feel like we don't think about how nerve-wracking it must be to be a cop in Baltimore or dangerous cities like that. Like, your heart must be racing all the time. Like, when I deliver pizzas in the ghetto and I'm in a really bad part, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous. I'm just delivering a pizza, then I get out of there. Can you imagine being a cop where everybody there hates you and not many people respect you and you're sort of the target of the neighborhood and you don't want to be a part of a drive-by or you have to arrest somebody and somebody shoots you? Like, we seem to overlook the problem that we are having in major cities. We seem to overlook the problem that websites show when they try to paint cops in a bad pick. We are sort of overlooking the problem that video games are violent and that crime keeps getting worse with social media because, frankly, who cares? If it happens in a Baltimore or a Milwaukee or a St. Louis, doesn't matter, or New Orleans or Birmingham, whatever. But when it happens in Chicago, that's when we care because Spike Lee made a documentary. Nobody was talking about it before, but now that Spike Lee makes the documentary, everybody talks about Chicago and its murder. We should be talking about every major city. We should be coming up with ways to appreciate life. I'm not saying if we go in with a positive attitude, everything is going to be fixed overnight. I'm just saying we can try something different and not get mad over goddamn coffee, you pieces of dirt.
Next on Happy Hour.
All right. Here's the deal. Oprah defended the imbeciles, these talentless douchebags, these talentless cretins known as the Kardashians. And I will get into that and more. Tweet at me. At Ryan Hoppy Radio. If you're listening live via Spreaker, it's not hard. All you have to do is chat me via the app or via the website. And if you're listening on demand and you want to send me a message, it's Ryan at hoppyradio.com. We will be right back on your iPod. We will be right back on your iPhone. Whatever you are listening on, which I appreciate, because anybody who listens to the show is always going to be a badass in my eyes. We will be right back on Happy Hour after this. Hang on.
Happy Hour. Happy Hour. The bouncer is asking for his permission. This is Happy Hour. It's time to turn Hoppy on. It's time to turn Hoppy on. It's time to turn Hoppy on. It's time to turn Hoppy on.
All right, welcome back to Hoppy Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppy. Tweet at me in real time so I know that you're listening. Tweet at me at Ryan Hoppy Radio. And as long as you're not a douche, I will be sure to give you a follow back, because anybody who listens to the show, anybody who downloads the show, I appreciate it. We had a record amount of downloads last week. We had 400. We had 200 on the interview with radio legend Kevin Matthews, so it means the world to me. Also, if you're listening via Spreaker, you can chat me and email me, ryan@hoppyradio.com. All right. Now, I never was the biggest fan of Oprah, but she did a lot of good. She would help out broken homes. She would have segments on TV where she would help out people. Like, there was never really a bad thing to say about Oprah. Sure, she did things for attention. Sure, that time when she opened up that school in Africa, there ended up being a pedophile teacher there. So you can kind of complain there. But nobody ever really hated Oprah. Maybe you were annoyed by the coverage. Maybe you weren't the biggest fan of her show. But nobody ever said, oh, screw Oprah, she's a bitch. Like, she was just kind of there. You know what I mean? Like, Oprah was never considered evil. She may have been annoying. Maybe she wasn't your thing. But you always just kind of saw Oprah as that rich TV host that meant well. Maybe she has a big ego. Maybe her idea of that TV network didn't pan out. But, like, nobody's ever really hated Oprah. Well, I think I have found a reason for you to not like her. When I saw this headline, I thought this was something out of The Onion. When I saw this headline, I could not believe my eyes. I mean, this is bad. She's supposed to be that role model. I know she's not as big now because she has a TV network that nobody watches. I get that she's not as big now because she's not on every day and she's getting older. But she is one of the biggest figures when it comes to making money. Her, Howard, everybody like that, they're larger than life figures. So what comes with that is kids look up to you. Now, I don't know how much like the kids now that are in high school, the whole millennials, I don't know how much they know about Oprah, but there's the potential that people look up to you because you're a rich celebrity who's done good. So when it says here, Oprah defends the Kardashians after actress Rebel Wilson says she hates their lack of talent, Oprah comes to their defense. I can't even believe this headline. This is from the Huffington Post. Here's the quote that begins the article. I can't believe this is real. Maybe Ellen would defend them. Maybe a late night TV host like Jimmy Fallon, like a nice person, would defend them. But somebody with some sort of integrity like Oprah, you would never expect her to say this about the Kardashians, those talentless imbeciles. I would never expect her to say, people don't get, people think, oh, if a TV camera is just following you, then that's just easy. Trust me, it's harder than it looks. Let me reread that, because this isn't a joke. This isn't out of The Onion. She says, if a TV camera is just following you, then they think it's that easy. It is pretty easy. Compared to being a coal miner in West Virginia, compared to being a farmer, or doing a white-collar job, or being a pizza delivery boy. That's actual work. But being talentless imbeciles who are famous for a sex tape and have no talent, and walk around wearing perfume and tight dresses on a TV show that's not real whatsoever. What's the work on that, Oprah? Writing the script of a fake reality show where the writing is worse than an awful sitcom with a laugh track? What is so hard, Oprah, about being the Kardashians, you dummy? There's that term in TV, jumping the shark. Oprah jumped the shark on this one, saying, oh, if a TV camera is just following you, then they think it's that easy. It is easy. You're famous for a sex tape. Sex is fun. Oh, wow. Took so much work for Kim and Chris to have that deal where they signed the tape over to Vivid Entertainment like talentless cretins. Oh, it takes so much work, Oprah, to take off your clothes like Kim does and take a selfie of her pregnant body. Oh, it takes so much work to walk around having your smartphone right to the camera like product placement while you say on TV, oh my God, Lamar's mad at me. Because that's such hard work, Oprah. If that's hard work, please give me that job. You dummy. You're out of touch because you're a billionaire and you haven't had to work hard since the 80s because nobody watches your network. My Periscopes probably get more views than your network, and that's not that many. Nobody cares about you, and this is a desperate plea for attention, you dumbass. Oh, it's so much hard work to be a Kardashian. Have a fat ass and look hot. Ooh. It takes more work to be a real-looking girl who goes to the gym, who looks classy at parties, and doesn't Photoshop their face for Glamour magazine, you dummy. You know what takes more work, Oprah? To go to the gym and lose weight. Not saying you're a fat ass. I'm just saying that's something that takes work. Not walking around with a TV camera. Oh, my God. Oh, my God, because they can't complete a sentence because they have the combined IQ. Everybody in that family of a brain-dead cat. Takes so much work, Oprah. Oh, my God. How are they going to survive? Dumbass. It says here, it's no secret that some people in Hollywood resent the amount of success the Kardashians have had. No duh. I would say 95% of Hollywood hates them. The only part that doesn't hate them is anybody who's ever had sex with any of them, which isn't really anybody in Hollywood because they basically bang NBA players. So most of Hollywood hates these talentless dirtbags. Rebel Wilson was the latest in a long line of celebrities to take aim at the family, as she told the Kyle and Jackie O show in Sydney that she refused to present an award at the MTV VMAs this past summer with Kylie and Kendall Jenner because she's against everything they are. Good. Glad Rebel Wilson said something. Can we have bigger names come up to the plate? They're so influential. I mean, they go on Ellen, and it's just, oh, my God, I have this book of selfies. Because that takes so much work, Oprah, to grab your phone and take a picture, save it to the computer, put it in Photoshop, change it so you look perfect, even though you're not Kim, and then make a book of it. That takes so much work to walk around on a fake reality show where your big butts are showing as you're walking down Hollywood Boulevard. Oh, my God, so much work because they go to bed so tired. Oh, my God, what a day. There's days I am so tired from my pizza job, but I do happy hour. I'm not lifting myself and complimenting myself. There are people in Cleveland who are listening who work their ass off at factories. There are people in Tampa Bay who are listening who work their ass off, maybe at a bar job, maybe as a landscaper, maybe working on the bridge here. That's work. I would love to see any of those broads with fat asses try to do any type of real work, Oprah, they wouldn't survive a second. Oh my God, like my makeup is dripping. I don't look as pretty. Exactly, honey. Here's what it says here. This is a great line. I'm crying. I'm laughing so hard. To create a reality series that looks like something is actually happening, it means you have to be on all the time. So she basically just said that the show is fake. Oh my God. When you're as good looking as the Kardashian family, it takes so much work to sit around on your fat ass and look pretty. Oh my God. The stress of it. Does my makeup look all right? If being a Kardashian is hard, no pun intended, then give me that job. Everybody should have that job for a day. Just say. Here's what it says. I went to film them as a family, and I couldn't believe how hard they worked. We were there for 7 hours, and they were going to tape another 7 hours after I left. No matter who you are, that is work. There are people who work at factories for 18-hour days. There are people who get 14 hours of sleep, which is how much time they spend filming a show in a day, 14 hours. There are people who get that much sleep in 5 days. That is nothing, Oprah, because there's no content on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So don't you think there's a chance that 14 hours could at least fit 4 episodes? Because nothing goes on this trashy show. There's really nothing climatic. Nothing happens. The only climax that happens is when one of them achieves an orgasm. There's really nothing that goes on with the show. So do you think the brain dead viewers that watch this trash would notice if they used the same B-roll footage? Of course not. So 14 hours is like a half a season. Because what, the show's been on for what, 80 years already? Jesus Christ. Here's what it says. They said back in 2012, being around Oprah was the best day ever. Bet it was great. Bet she bought you guys lunch. Ugh. Bunch of rich douchebags hanging out with a rich person who... I like Oprah. I do. But I really believe that she's desperate. Nobody cares about her network. Nobody. Nobody's watching the O Network. Nobody talks about Oprah anymore. So this is the one time that people go, oh, Oprah. Like when I saw this headline, I was like, oh, yeah, that TV host from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s my mom watched at 9 a.m. on ABC7 in Chicago. Like, whenever I see her name, it's sort of like a vintage name. Like, you think about the past. Like, I never see Oprah's name, and I never think about, oh, yeah, she did that back in March. Like, here's an example. When you think of Brian Williams' name, you think of everything that happened back in the winter with him lying. It's not like you think of something that happened 5 years ago. When you hear Jay Leno's name, you think of him leaving the show 2 years ago. You don't think about that interview with Hugh Jackman back in the 90s when he called him out for getting a hooker. Like, there's a lot of TV icons and a lot of hosts that you think about. And when you hear their name, you think of something that happened in recent memory. When you hear Oprah's name, you have to go in the way back machine in your brain. I think of her building a school in Africa back in 06 or 07. It's like a decade ago. Like, she's done nothing recently. So this was a desperate ploy, because who cares? She's worth $1 billion. It's not like her saying this is going to ruin the ratings of the O Network. Because when you're at the bottom of the barrel and nobody cares about your network, you might as well just spew garbage for the rest of your life, Oprah. I guess that's your plan now, huh?
Happy Hour. Happy Hour.